My God, Thomas Jane is back in a new film, but this time he's bringing along his daughter who is making her big screen debut. Let's jump into the film, Dig. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the film Dig, which is going to be available in theaters, on demand, and digital come September 23rd. Now, this film stars Thomas Jane, his daughter Harlow Jane, Emile Hirsch, and Liana Liberato, who this cast, I gotta say, is a good mix of experience and talent that really puts you on edge with their performances. I mean, obviously, a little biased, I can say that Thomas is fantastic in this, but listen, Liana is really, really, really good. Harlow also surprised me from somebody that you say, well, how much experience does she have? I mean, she looks like a natural. I mean, she is in film royalty, so like, you know, obviously it runs in her blood here. But yeah, I mean, you still got to do the work, and she did a fantastic job. And then Emile, who not only is good in this, I can't wait for his other film that's coming out very soon as well too. So like, there's a lot of intrigue with this cast. For me personally, that I thought they came together and delivered a really solid film. Now, the film is titled Dig. And yes, you probably are thinking, oh, who's going to be digging up what? Who has a shovel digging up a hole, etc., etc., etc. And yes, you're not wrong to think that, but I do challenge you to think of the title in a very metaphorical way. That's where this film gets intriguing, because the first time I watched this film, I honestly felt it was boring. I wanted more action. The stakes were pretty high in terms of the dilemma and the conflict, but it really didn't deliver until like the last 15 minutes were like, at least with my expectations of what I thought this film was going to be, wasn't until then. But after I let it marinate for a while, I started to look back and say, oh, actually, the storytelling in this is really good. And when you're talking about themes such as self-reflection, you're talking about self-forgiveness, you're talking about there's a couple of other things I'm going to kind of leave for you all to kind of dabble into in terms of discovering the different themes and messages that this film is trying to tell. But like, there is a lot of those type of moments in this film that you start to kind of feel some of these characters become a little bit relatable to you. Talking about Thomas Jane's character, Scott, who, you know, he's a dad that's just trying to do right by his family. You know, he wants to protect his daughter. He wants to, you know, obviously, you know, be the man of the household, and sometimes ego gets involved, I'll say. And, you know, it starts off with him in one bad night that changed his life, his and his daughter's life forever. A road rage incident that he probably could have let go escalated into his wife being shot and killed. So he kind of lives with that burden that like, hey, you know, what about if I had handled that different? Will my wife still be alive? Not to mention in this that his daughter, because of the trauma, now has a now is hearing impaired. With him not making a lot of money, there's really not a lot of options in terms of treatment for her. And with that, you know, there's a little bit of resentment towards him. And all sorts of different kind of conflicts between the two of them, where they're kind of bouncing off as to who's to blame for that night, you know, and having to kind of forgive to move on. So like, you know, a lot of those different things along with the grieving. So with that, Scott and his daughter, Jane, well, he takes the demolition job. And when he takes the demolition job, which is obviously going to make him some money, the money that he can use towards trying to help Jane gets treatment, well, yeah, then they're taken hostage, and by this dangerous couple, which their goal is to retrieve what is underneath this property. So in this hostage situation, there is a lot of conversation. One, because, you know, with Jane being hearing impaired, you know, Scott hasn't taken he hasn't taken he was supposed to, and he hasn't taken the liberty to learn to sign. And with the hostage clearly not knowing anything about this and not knowing about her condition, that brings a whole nother element to it, because they are trying to make sure that they know she knows what's happening and that they know what she's up to. And she's a little bit of a, I mean, she's 16 years old. So she is definitely a little bit of a rebel of her own, which could be problematic in a hostage situation when sometimes you just need to sit still, and she's not really for that. So there's a lot of kind of different things kind of going on and along with that. But like I said, there's a lot of drama in this, and at times I feel like it's a little bit boring because of the talking, but I think when you reflect back into what some of these conversations were about, I think you appreciate it a lot more. And then there was some moments I thought was a little odd as well too. Some moments I just was not sure why or how, you know, maybe to my misunderstanding, but like there was definitely some moments I was just kind of like, And then, like, this entire time, the film, you just have the Brennans trying to escape. That's the core of this movie. They get in a hostage situation, and it's just 2 versus 2, and they're trying to figure out how they can get back to safety. And that, I felt, dragged a lot longer than it needed to, just to be honest. Because these amateur thieves and dangerous folks, I mean, there's a little bit of experience to them, but like they're still very much amateur. Like they make some careless mistakes as well too if they're actually trying to properly, you know, hold somebody hostage and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, the last 10 minutes is when I felt like things got very like interesting in terms of the action, a little bit of gore, more surprises and so on. But like, I guess like the entire time, things feel very much on edge. I think when you talk about Emile's and Liana's performances as Victor and Lola, they're a couple of hotheads who just, their presence on screen, you just never know what's going to happen, especially Lola. Like, this character is ruthless, cutthroat, and unpredictable, which just changes a lot of moments that you think may go one way will absolutely go another. So yes. So in this film, you got this father-daughter pairing. You have this Bonnie and Clyde type of thing, all kind of coming all together as it's just trying to survive. And you got to kind of see what happened. Last thing I will say is that huge appreciation for the director here, because when it comes down to a film that's highlighting hearing impairment, there is a lot of research that should be involved in order for proper representation, which I can say that the director here in Asher Levin did his homework, looking at other films such as Coda, such as Sound of Metal, to really make sure that one, that when it came down to Harlow's performance, that it was authentic, giving her the proper tools and surroundings to make this character work. Which, by the way, I don't know if I said it, but Harlow's performance is fantastic here as a 16-year-old girl who is struggling with hearing impairment here. But I thought the handling of this character was done very well. The appreciation for the community and the research that they've done to make sure that this character was done properly, definitely is something we want to see a lot more of, you know. And thus, yes, this one was done to a point that I can totally respect and acknowledge that there was research done as well. So, you know, overall, again, I felt like this film sometimes feels like a little bit of a slow burn, maybe a lot more than a slow burn, but there's good messages in here. I think the resolve is kind of but the performances was very solid, kept you entertained. On that note, without the performances, I really don't know how this film works, but the performances was done well. A little bit of a slow burn, as I said. The action really picks up in the last 10 minutes of the film. That really gives you a lot to think back onto in terms of the message. And as I said, I challenge you to look at the title Dig and kind of derive what are the very metaphorical messages of the title instead of somebody having a shovel trying to dig something up from under this property. So there's that. But yep, check it out. Dig in theaters, on demand, digital, September 23rd. Jump in the comments, folks, and let me know your thoughts about it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.